The movie begins by showing Harry, who teaches wrestling to students at a college. Before becoming a wrestling coach, Harry used to be in the American military. To keep busy, he decides to offer wrestling training for students. One evening, when Harry gets home, he gets a sudden call from Detective Jones, informing him that Harry's teenage daughter, Jane, is in the hospital in a coma. She was attacked by her boyfriend. Harry feels very sad and shocked to hear this news. He can't believe that his daughter has become a victim of violence. Without wasting time, Harry rushes to the hospital to see Jane, who is now unconscious. He sits by her bedside, continuously staring at her as her condition worsens. Moments later, Jones approaches Harry to inform him that Jane's boyfriend has been arrested and confessed to all his actions against her. From the interrogation, Jane's boyfriend admits that he initially tried to be intimate with her, but when she refused, he became angry and assaulted her, unaware that this would lead Jane to be hospitalized in a coma. After hearing the results of the investigation, Harry asks Jones to ensure that Jane's boyfriend is punished to the fullest extent. If the police cannot do so, then Harry will take it upon himself to punish the man in his own way. Shortly after Jones leaves, Jane's condition starts to get worse. The doctors and nurses quickly give her emergency treatment to try to save her life. Meanwhile, Harry can only watch in silence as everything unfolds. Sadly, Jane eventually takes her last breath, leaving Harry heartbroken. A few days later, Harry is seen at the trial for Jane's death. After a long trial, Jane's attacker is finally sentenced to life in prison. This brings Harry some comfort because it's what he wanted, even though it won't bring Jane back. After the trial, Harry tries to go on with his life, but he still can't let go of his daughter's death. He often looks at pictures of Jane and spends his evenings drinking. Once, Jones calls to ask how he's doing, but Harry doesn't want to worry him, so he says he's fine and thanks him for helping with Jane's case. Before hanging up, Jones tells Harry to call if he needs anything. The next evening, Harry tried to distract himself from his sadness by going to the movies. But his enjoyment was interrupted by a young man who was bothering his female friend. Harry got annoyed and scolded the young man, even throwing popcorn at him. After the movie, the young man confronted Harry outside. Harry calmly told him to go elsewhere if he wanted to flirt with his female friend. This angered the young man, who pulled out a knife, but Harry, being a former military member and wrestling coach, easily subdued him. The next day, Harry went back to coaching wrestling. He focused on training his favorite student, Keisha, giving her advice and encouragement. He even offered her extra classes if she wanted to improve further. Harry did all of this because Keisha's face resembled his late daughter Jane, so he always saw his daughter's figure in Keisha. Later that evening, Keisha finished her wrestling class and returned home. However, her stepfather Tom wasn't happy because she hadn't brought him any food. Upset, Keisha went to her room to avoid arguing. When she slammed the door, Tom got even angrier and accused her of being disrespectful. He felt she was always rebellious and slapped her, ordering her to leave. Furious by Tom's behavior, Keisha fought back and hit him. Luckily, her mother, Linda, came in and stopped the fight. Tired of Tom's mistreatment and feeling unappreciated as Linda's daughter, Keisha decided to leave despite Linda's pleas. Meanwhile, Harry was driving home when he saw Keisha alone at a bus stop. He stopped and invited her to talk in his car. He took her to a restaurant where she revealed that her stepfather always scolded and treated her roughly. That's why she chose to leave home after Tom kicked her out. Upon hearing this, Harry advised her to go home because Linda would be worried about her. Harry also promised that he would talk to Tom. At that moment, Harry admitted to doing all this because he considered Keisha as his own daughter, and he wouldn't let himself lose someone he cared for a second time. After hearing Harry's advice, Keisha finally agreed to follow his suggestion, so he immediately escorted her back home. The next day, Harry continued his wrestling coaching duties. After the class, he went to Keisha's house to confront Tom. When he got there, he gave Keisha some money to buy food and stayed to talk to Tom about his mistreatment of Keisha. At that moment, Harry asked Tom to treat Keisha better because it was affecting her mental health. He warned Tom that if he didn't stop, he would report him to the police for child abuse. But Tom seemed unfazed, telling Harry not to meddle in other people's matters. This made Harry angrier, and he twisted Tom's arm. Just then, Keisha returned with the food, and Harry asked her to give it to Tom, who was in pain. Seeing Harry stand up for her, Keisha felt relieved and threw the food at Tom's injured arm. 2 days later, while coaching wrestling, Harry felt happy to see Keisha cheerful again after he stood up to Tom. Additionally, Tom also aware of Harry's potential confrontation, so he decided to stop mistreating Keisha. At home, Tom contacted his associate Sergio, who worked for Rich, a mafia boss involved in trafficking women. Tom told Sergio about his altercation with Keisha, and Sergio offered him $10,000 to hand her over for auction to wealthy clients. Indifferent to Keisha, Tom agreed Sergio's offer and promised to deliver Keisha to Sergio after she finished her classes at her campus. After the call, Tom contacted Keisha, pretending to be concerned, and offered to pick her up from campus and also pick up Linda from her office. Keisha, surprised by his sudden kindness, agreed. When her classes ended, she found Tom waiting for her and got into his car, unaware of his intentions. The following evening, Harry suddenly received a phone call from Jones informing him that the police had just received a report from a mother about her daughter's disappearance. Jones explained that the reporter was Linda, who was searching for her daughter, Keisha. After learning that Keisha was missing, Harry rushed to the campus to check the surveillance cameras. Upon arriving at the campus, Harry asked a guard to show him the footage from the cameras outside the campus from the previous day. He saw Keisha being picked up by Tom before she disappeared. Harry assumed Keisha's disappearance was related to her stepfather, so he went to ask him about Keisha's whereabouts. Although Harry asked politely, Tom acted arrogantly and didn't answer Harry's questions. Angered, Harry attacked Tom until he admitted that he had handed Keisha over to Sergio. Harry then dragged Tom into the car to show him where Sergio was. Meanwhile, Sergio, at his home, was seen making juice when he was surprised by Harry's arrival, throwing Tom into the house. Without hesitation, Harry attacked Sergio while demanding to know Keisha's whereabouts. Unable to withstand Harry's torture, Sergio confessed he had handed Keisha over to Rich, who usually kept women to be sold at a casino hotel in Las Vegas. According to Sergio's confession, Rich would auction off the kidnapped girls to wealthy clients, and whoever bid the highest price would have the right to do anything to the girls. Angry at Sergio's and Tom's cruel treatment of Keisha, Harry then locked both men in a room before heading to Las Vegas. He also contacted Jones to inform him of Keisha's whereabouts, who was currently being held captive by a mafia boss, and asked for the detective's help to rescue her. After receiving information from Harry, Jones went to Linda to update her on the search for Keisha before he bid farewell to follow Harry to Las Vegas. Upon learning this, Linda insisted the detective accompany her, and Jones reluctantly allowed her to go with him. Returning to Harry, who had just arrived at the casino hotel, he pretended to be a participant in the auction, and was directed to meet the hotel manager named Dale. At that moment, Dale asked how Harry found out about the auction, and Harry lied, saying he got the information from Sergio because they were good friends with the mafia member. Feeling that Harry posed no threat, Dale gave him a room key and informed him of the auction schedule, which would be held virtually at 11 p.m. When in his room, Harry contacted Jones, who had arrived at the Las Vegas police station. During the call, Harry requested that Jones and other police units not come to the casino hotel because he hadn't found Keisha, who was being held captive. Unfortunately, the Las Vegas police chief named Vanessa rejected Harry's idea and intended to carry out a raid as soon as possible. Angered, Harry explained that if they did that, Keisha and the other captive girls would not be found because the mafia would secure all of them. Harry said he would pretend to participate in the auction to find out the whereabouts of the captive girls. Once Harry had completed his task, he would inform the police, who would then carry out the raid. After hearing the explanation, Vanessa finally agreed to Harry's plan. Sometime later, precisely at 11 p.m., Harry entered a room to participate in the virtual auction, which involved several young girls. When Harry saw Keisha's photo, he immediately placed a bid for her, but a wealthy Arab bidder offered a higher price to acquire her, prompting Harry to try to raise the bid. Unfortunately, Harry was forced to lose the auction, prompting him to immediately contact Jones to deploy the police force to the casino hotel, while he himself would search for Keisha and the other girls being held captive by Rich. After receiving the call, Jones and his team immediately moved to the mentioned casino hotel. Meanwhile, Harry confronted Dale to ask about Keisha's whereabouts, discovering that she was held captive in Rich's headquarters, located in a warehouse near the airport. Without hesitation, Harry informed Jones about the warehouse before he went to rescue Keisha. Upon arriving at the warehouse, Harry lied about coming to pick up Keisha because he had won her in a recently held auction. Unfortunately, Rich's right-hand man named Martin did not allow Harry to enter, claiming that he needed permission from Rich. Harry then claimed to be a close friend of Rich who had permission to bring his chosen girl. Martin believed all of Harry's words and allowed him to go to where Keisha was with an escort from his henchmen. When Keisha saw Harry at the location, she accidentally called him by his title as a coach, alerting Martin's henchmen to Harry's attempt to free the captive women held by Rich. With no other option, Harry was forced to fight the man, and after defeating him, he immediately took Keisha and the other girls to hide in the underground room. Unfortunately, Rich suddenly arrived to thwart Harry's plan by ordering Martin to take all the girls to the holding room, while Rich would confront Harry. Rich then pointed his pistol at Harry until he was able to corner the wrestling coach. Just before Rich could finish off Harry, Jones and his police team appeared at the location and fired shots to disable the mafia boss. At the end of the film, it shows Harry's and the police's success in rescuing Keisha and exposing the human trafficking syndicate operated by American Mafia. On the other hand, Harry feels relieved because Keisha is safe and can reunite with Linda, who has been waiting for her daughter to come home. Moral lesson from the story: if you throw popcorn at someone annoying in a movie theater, make sure they don't have a knife to slash the popcorn, or you might end up in a situation more dramatic than the movie you were watching.